Hi guys, this is Jules and welcome to my review. This review is going to be on the Chaos Walking series by Patrick Ness. The first book is called The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. And in this first book, you learn about the character Todd. Oops. About the character Todd. Sorry if it's unclear. Let's see if I can get this so it's not so unclear. There we go. In this book, you'll learn about Todd and his journey. And before that, he's in Old Preston Town, and he is being raised by his basically kind of like a father figure, Killian um, and Ben, and they're in Old Preston Town. He can hear their thoughts. He can hear his own. They can hear his, and all that. So, and he can also hear all the 164 men's thoughts as well. So it's called The Noise, and he's a 12-year-old boy, almost turning 13, and he's in this town having to deal with the noise every day, 24/7. And also, he lives on a farm, takes care of sheep. And as this goes on, he ends up getting sent away. And because he finds out about something, and when he gets home, they realize he found out about something and told him, just hide it in your noise. He has to learn to hide this in his noise best he can, and ends up going into the woods, into the forest, because Kill and Ben send him in the forest. He ends up finding Todd ends up finding a wrecked ship, and there's a girl inside. And they get to know each other in a more silent way at first. He hears her silence, but he also is trying to figure out who she is. He tries to talk to her, and she does understand, but she don't say anything for a while there at first. And all this, they get to know each other, and also in this, and he does eventually find out her name, and he finds out her name is Viola EA, finds a little bit about where she's from. She grew up on a ship, was born on a ship, so she's around his age, and they're trying to bring settlers back. Her family's coming here to settle, and they're waiting for a reply, but her ship is wrecked, so she's trying to find a new communicator tower. And as this goes on, also things do happen along the way. They run into a spectacle that's very like terrified of them, don't know what they're gonna do, kinda is trying to be just left alone, but in the end Han ends up killing the spectacle, and he feels the fear in the end and all this, and he can't believe he did it. So he's pretty much trying to get through this whole thing, and also he has a book trying to figure out why and what to do. And his mom wrote this book before he was born. It was her journal. She would write in it, "Dear son," tells him how he was as a kid, and as it goes, she ends up telling him more along his adventure. But he has a hard time reading, so he ended up having Viola read some to him in this journey of his. And so, and before this journey, back on the farm, he just pretty much fed the sheep. He pretty much just went around doing the farming, basically. And after he finds out her name and everything, they go through a few things. And that's pretty much what happens in book 1. So, and then in book 2, is called The Ask and the Answer by Patrick Ness. This is book 2. In this book gets more tense. They end up getting ready to go to battle. They're not going to start going to battle yet, but they're getting prepared to, because they're dealing with the spectacle issues. And at this point, Todd, before the battle even begins, at this point, Todd is within Old Preston Town of the mayor, I should say, New Preston Town. I think the mayor, Preston, calls where Todd's at now. And Todd's having to do stuff he don't want to do. He ends up having to final is like food to feed the spectacle, and also make sure they had water, because spectacle, they have a section of spectacle that are their slaves, and they have to have the spectacle dig trenches out so they can make a building foundation to be built for the mayor. And as this goes along, all of a sudden the mayor decides to give them bands, metal bands for the spectacle. And the spectacle don't know this at first. And then as they give that, they pull him out, and Todd is in shock because he can't believe what he's got to do. And they ask the spectacle to line up, and they end up tagging the spectacle with these metal bands. And as it goes along, also one time, his Mr. Preston, his son Davy, decides to put one of the bands on one of the spectacle, but not on their wrist. He ends up putting it around the neck of the spectacle. Todd reacts and ends up getting the spectacle free so he can breathe. So, and he ends up then finishing off with the spectacle by putting bands on the rest of them. And these bands are not just ordinary bands, that they all have numbers on them. So they're anywhere from number 0 to 1017. And this band, once it's on you, they're like very hard to remove, because they can't be removed, because they do not know how they can be removed. And the band eventually slices through the wrist, and as it goes, the skin will grow, still form, but it'll wrap around the band. And it does get infected, and the spectacle, a lot of them, a small chunk of them or so, end up being killed because of the band, makes them too sick. And as it goes, Todd keeps saving this one spectacle, 1017, in a couple different situations. There's one situation where the spectacle was standing in the trench, by trenches they were digging out, and there was something falling out of the sky, and Todd decides to jump and get him out of the way because the spectacle would not move. So he ran and got him out of the way before he was killed that way. And also in this, when the spectacle get all murdered, I believe it's in this one that the spectacle near the end of the book, like the second half, I believe all the spectacle at the New Preston Town or whatever it was, and I believe they all get bombed out by the Answer, and the only one left is 1017 that gets Todd lets free, and he runs and tells people, and they're called the spectacle is also called the Burden. and as it goes, 1017 runs off, ends up going into the forest. And also Todd ends up kind of starting, he's already a man by this point. He's already 13 now, and having to deal with all this pain, digging, and having to treat the spectacle cruelly, and he does not like this. And also, he's got to follow the orders of the mayor, and he don't like how he's all of a sudden being able to control his noise. He's starting to keep saying, "I am the circle, and the circle is me," and it's starting to calm his noise. And as it goes on, his noise is getting silent and more silent as the days go on, and he's realizing it's happening. And in this, he don't know what's going on with Viola. He don't know where she's at. And Viola is in the House of Healing right now. And she my mind just went blank. So I believe that's where she was in the second book. She ends up in the House of Healing. And yeah. And because she got shot, and I believe this is a book where she's becomes helping in the House of Healing. Near the I believe near the end of this book though. And as that goes, they're trying to figure things out on this terrain. Settlers are supposed to come to this planet within some months, and they don't know when it's gonna be, because they don't know if it's gonna be quicker or sooner, but they know it's gonna be this much time. But they end up showing up earlier in the last book. So, but that's pretty much what goes on throughout this book, and I believe Viola is starting to be a healer in this book. My memory's a little off probably because I had to take the books back. They were due and they were library books. So, and in the last book, Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness, this book is where they end up going into the battle. They start fighting the answer. The answer is Mistress Coyle and her group of women that are from the healing house and everything else. And they end up not just fighting the answer. Todd, he's on the ass side. They end up fighting the answer, but they also end up, in the end, they all end up fighting the spectacle because spectacle end up attacking them. Because 1017 end up getting hold of more spectacle of his, that was the land, and the person he talks to is the sky, and this whole bag goes down, and they're trying to all survive. And as it goes along, spectacle die, some of the ass die, some of the answer, and it is all a big battle, and they're all trying to figure things out. The settlers are coming, they're trying to get this settled. A few settlers come down, and a ship lands, and it has Simone and Brad, I think the guy's name is. They come down. They're a couple of the settlers that Viola knows, and by this point, Viola is injured because she was tortured by the mayor, Preston, of this town, and they're just trying to survive this whole thing. So but in the end they figure it out and things come in peace. So that's what happens in this trilogy, and I definitely gave them all 5 stars. So I hope you will try this trilogy out, and because it's a really good trilogy. I loved it, and I gave them all 5 stars. And I guess that's it for this review, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.